What's up, everyone? Clark Glassford, founder of My Practice Interview, where I help you land your dream job. And today I am super excited. I am joined by Dwayne Williams, the style coach, and we are going to talk about what it takes for all you fellows out there to dress for the interview to make a killer first impression. This interview has been a long time in the making. I'm super excited to have Dwayne here. But before we get to Dwayne, you're here for a reason. You're here for interview advice, career coaching, how to write a resume, how to navigate all the different interview questions so you sail through that interview, so you land the job of your dreams. You've come to the right place. Every week I post new videos on my YouTube channel, so like, subscribe, share with your friends. Also in the links in this video, you'll see a link here, and you'll see links below is a copy of My Practice Interview ebook. It's a free ebook that you can download right now. It walks you through step by step what you need to prepare for the interview with actual sample interview questions. It is absolutely free. You've got no excuse not to download that right now. So get that. But you know what? I got to get to Dwayne. We're going to run out of time. So here we go. Dwayne, so awesome to have you here. You are the style coach. We have been back and forth over the last year, just kind of following each other, becoming friends with each other. I've seen the amazing work you do through LinkedIn and your other social media stuff. Welcome to the My Practice Interview YouTube channel. Awesome to have you here.
Thank you, Clark. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, sir. I really appreciate you having me.
Right on. So you are the style coach. This is what you do for a living. So tell me, how did you get into this, and what's a style coach all about?
Well, it's a long story, but the short version is, Clark, I started early on with my father being a tailor. So I kind of grew up with the influence of, men's fashion, men's clothing. So I knew I had a passion for it early on, but I didn't start really working at it professionally until I graduated from college. Once I graduated from college, I worked a couple of unfulfilling jobs, and then I decided, hey, why not go after my passion? I always wanted to be into fashion and men's style, so I just pursued it and landed a job with a luxury retailer and worked my way up. And 20 years later, here we are, style coach.
This is amazing. And, I've seen posts of you from a young age where, you are dressed to the nines. Like, you've got a suit on, and I'm sure the kids around you are wearing like shorts and ripped t-shirts. So you've had style going with you since, you were young.
Yes. It's a prerequisite in my household to, on things like picture day, important occasions at school, to really dress up. So my father and my mom, made sure that we dressed to the nines. So it wasn't always accepted, with open arms. Some of the kids, didn't like it, but hey.
Unbelievably amazing. And so you transitioned, you started some high-end retail. You kind of, I guess, cut your teeth at that level, starting to really learn fashion, which is obviously a passion of yours. How did you transition out of that into working into what you've become now as the style coach and working with men on defining their style? How did you do that?
Well, as a luxury retailer, when I was in sales, I would hear time and time again the frustrations of all these guys coming in saying, hey, I have this event, or I have this interview that I need to get ready for. And it was always different life occasions that they were panicked to get ready for, and they had no clue. So I just put two and two together and was like, why not reach in there and help these guys get what they need and what they deserve, and have the confidence and clear thought patterns around men's fashion. So I was able to educate them and get them going to where they felt confident walking into an interview or a wedding or whatever life event that they were going to.
And I think the key word there is confidence, right? And it's whether it's the interview or a wedding or just life in general, having that fashion that fits with you and who you are helps build that confidence. And, I've said this to you before, like, I wish I had someone like you when I was starting out my career. Thank goodness, like, my career started a little pre-smartphone days. So, there is no documentation out there digitally of what I used to look like and how I used to dress. It would be pretty appalling. So, having someone like you, especially when I'm starting out, or really at any point in your career where you're like, I just need to define myself somehow to help bring out that confidence is so, I feel is so important. And the work you're doing is just, it would be amazing.
Thank you. Yes, it is something that I feel is very necessary, because when I was working, my way up in fashion retail, it was very competitive, Clark. I mean, you wouldn't get a position if you didn't look the part.
Right.
So that's when my, interest was sparked into my own personal style. And then I started fine tuning my packaging. And then I started to see more and more success. And I started to climb the ladder a little faster, and that's really essentially what it is. It's packaging yourself personally to where you're your best.
Right. And that's a great point. Like, part of being a trained interviewer and being in that interview world is to try and park your biases at the door. But, in the back of your mind, there's always things that trigger you to give you that impression of an applicant. And it's that first impression, the way they walk into that interview room or wherever that interview is, that's what sets that first impression. And it's how you're presenting yourself is really making that solid first impression, so that when you walk in that room, you're going, as an interviewer, you're thinking, man, this is somebody I want to talk to. This is someone who I'm connecting with just on that kind of fashion level. And now you've got my attention. And a lot of people, I don't think they understand just how important that is as part of the job selection process. Even though, as a trained interviewer, like I said, you're supposed to kind of park those biases at the door, but it doesn't always work that way.
Right. And I mean, we're taught never judge a book by its cover.
Yep.
But when you walk into a bookstore, you're looking for the books with the best cover. 100%. Those are the ones that stand out to you. And those are the ones that you remember. Yes. So the whole point, when you walk into an interview, you want to look like you want to be a part of the organization, but at the same time, you want to be remembered by the organization.
Absolutely.
So that's a fine balance as to how you do that, and you make yourself comfortable in the process.
100%. No, that's great advice. So someone comes to you and says, Dwayne, I need you. I got to get myself sorted out here. What's your process? What's your analysis of the individual? How do you decide what fashion they are or what they're going to be comfortable with? Explain your process a little bit.
Yeah. Well, mainly my process is to make sure that I can be of value and I can truly help them. And it starts with a complete assessment. So what I do is I do a full assessment in great detail, to where we go into your likes, dislikes. We go into, even your favorite celebrities that you like to dress like, or you wish you could dress like. We go into what your dream wardrobe would look like. We go into your lifestyle, the position that you're gunning for, the position you're currently in. Yeah. We take all these things into account to be able to craft a lifestyle wardrobe for you. So that way, when you get engaged and you start networking with the people that you look forward to networking with, you're well equipped with your physical appearance. And that's one less thing that you can worry about.
For sure. No, that's so cool. Well, let's get into the meat and potatoes of what I wanted you to bring you here for, because it's such a mystery, I think, for so many people who are applying for jobs, going through that interview process as to what do I wear, especially as a guy who this whole conversation is directed to. What do I wear to, a formal interview versus a more casual interview? Or if I'm applying at like a warehouse, what's my go-to fashion that is going to maybe not oversell me if I don't need to wear a suit and tie, but I need to make that solid first impression. So I kind of break it down into 4 different categories of, style and different types of work environments, right? And the first one being that formal business environment. And, these are the environments where you're at a law firm or a big corporate office, and that the job you're applying for is really kind of suit and tie related. What would you advise an applicant to wear to an environment like that? And what are some of the smaller things they should be picking up on that will set them apart from other applicants?
Okay, that's a great question, Clark. As a matter of fact, I had a client recently, excuse me, that went to a formal interview at a law firm. So it's funny that you would mention that. And the law firm was after we did our research, the law firm was very formal. I mean, these guys were traditional as well. So you can be formal, but you could be traditional versus being, more contemporary in the looks, in the formal looks. So first of all, I'd say make sure you do the research to know exactly where you are so you can fit in, and then use some of the finer points, finer details to stand out just a little bit to be remembered. But middle of the road formal, I would definitely go with a dark wool suit.
Nice. Yeah.
And I know a lot of guys are saying, why did he say wool? Wool is hot. I live in Arizona. I live in California. But when you're in a formal environment, these guys understand detail, and they understand detail to a fabric standpoint. So you want to make sure you wear a nice wool so it's breathable. Wool is actually more breathable than a lot of these synthetic fabrics. So you want to make sure that it's a nice wool suit because it'll drape properly. It'll hold less wrinkles. It'll breathe. And you want to make sure it's dark. And I'd say dark in the sense of you want to go like a charcoal versus black. Try not to do black. Black is morbid. It tends to, bring people down a few notches into funeral kind of attire. But you want to make sure it's a dark wool suit that has no pattern to it. You don't want any pinstripes, plaids, or anything like that. You're not trying to draw attention to your outfit. You're trying to make sure you fit into a particular culture. Yes. You want to stay away from things like pocket squares initially. If you just see that, you do your research and you see that other guys are wearing pocket squares that work there, then do something minimalistic, a white, linen, straight across pocket square, nothing stuffed, floral. How you stuff it is going to matter as well, because they want to know that, you're about the details. You're not coming in too flashy. You don't want people to say, hey, look at me on my first day at work. They want to see you in the work environment, not as a problem.
Yes.
So you want to come in middle of the road, dark suit, and you want to wear a nice tie with socks to complement. You don't want to go in there, with the no-show socks showing your ankles and things like that. If you're in a law firm or some place that's more contemporary, like, like more of a fashion law firm, then maybe you can go no-show socks, that kind of thing. Sure. In a more traditional environment, make sure your socks complement your shirt and tie.
Right.
You want to go with a shirt that's a brighter shirt. Something like I'm wearing today in a brighter blue, or something like Clark has on, the nice white. You want to go a brighter shirt without a pattern as well. You don't want it busy. You don't want your pattern in your shirt competing with the tie. I'd say if you do a tie, do a solid tie or something with a diagonal stripe in it. A minimal pattern, something that's not too busy, that's going to draw too much attention away from your entire outfit. So that is what I would suggest. And finally, I'd make sure that your shoes are polished to a T.
Key tip. Absolutely. For sure.
Yes, indeed. Because the first thing a hiring manager does is shake your hand and they look you up and down. And if they see that the details of your shoes aren't taken care of, they may feel as though you won't take care of any of their details. So specifically.
That is an absolute pro tip there. I mean, there's so many pro tips in what you just said there. I like the little detail on the shoes, the pocket square. I also love how you said research, right? And that is, throughout the entire recruitment process, I'm always advising clients to research. And this is a key area, researching the company you're applying for, what that culture is all about. Like you said, don't go anything too flashy unless, the culture and the company you're applying for, can stand that a little bit with, the no sock approach that you talked about there, where that would be considered, okay, that's cool. This person understands, the kind of fashion environment that we work in here. But, kind of that middle of the road, like you said, take that kind of middle of a road approach with solids. Don't push the boundaries too hard. You're just going in for an interview and you're trying to make that solid first impression. Great advice, Dwayne.
Thank you.
So if we move on to like the next category, which would be more of like a casual business attire. So a lot of what you see in possibly Silicon Valley, IT type positions, environments where that suit and tie is not really part of their culture, but you're still wanting to make that good first impression in the interview. What do you recommend for those types?
Yeah, I'd say in order to stand out just a bit in more of a business casual environment, say if a Silicon Valley situation, of course you can't go in like Mark Zuckerberg in a hoodie because you're not Mark Zuckerberg yet.
Yeah, right, exactly.
So the way you do that is you go in a softer sports coat, maybe something that's less structured. Maybe if you lose the tie, do an air tie, as we call it, where you button all the way up to the top, but at the same time, you have a sports coat on without the tie.
Yes.
A nice sports coat. It could even have a pattern in it, but nothing too bright and loud. Keep it around the charcoal and the navy, aspects in the areas of, charcoal and navy.
Yeah.
And nothing too flashy. Nothing. I wouldn't even do a pocket square in a casual environment. You could pair it back with a pair of dress slacks if you're not doing a full-on suit, or suit separate situation. Then you can do, of course, the socks, and you can do a nicer, fun pair of socks, I'd say, something with a little pop of color in it since you're not going to wear a tie.
Yes.
And then I'd say, you do a nice loafer, something not with a rugged bottom, rugged sole to it. Do something still with a nice leather smooth sole, because again, you want to stand out a bit and you want to be remembered, but you don't want to go in too hot, too flashy.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'd recommend, something, in that realm.
Right.
Like that would benefit you.
Absolutely. No, I love that. Again, I'm sticking with the polished shoes, those little details. I like how, because you're not wearing a tie, you're incorporating a little bit of flair into the socks you're wearing and things like that, just to kind of make things pop a little bit. I think that's a really solid advice there. Don't wear your gym workout socks and, nice cotton white wool socks, stuff like that. Just a little detail and the nice kind of patterned socks can go a long way, right?
Yes. And still keep those shoes shined.
Yes.
Nice shoes, no scuffs, none of that action. You want to go in with your shoes nice, clean, and shined.
Right. Right on. Great advice. So shifting gears a little bit outside of that kind of corporate environment, more of a casual environment. So, people may find themselves, applying for, smaller businesses, which is really outside of business casual. You could be applying for, coffee shops as a barista. Maybe you're applying at a kind of a restaurant, or just smaller businesses where that the fashion we've just been talking about isn't really part of their culture. So shifting gears, what do you recommend for those types of applicants?
At this point, some may think, okay, it's time to relax and, kick back and throw in whatever, but not necessarily. It gets a little tricky because at this point, now you're really going to have to research the culture and make sure that you come in a way where you kind of fit in already. Because these people in those environments, they want to see a team member that can easily acclimate into already working there.
Yes.
So you really want to do your research and see what everybody else has been wearing before you come to the interview.
Right.
Maybe, go in with a nice button-up shirt. Make sure it's pressed, make sure it's long sleeve. Try not to go in short sleeve showing, any tattoos or anything like that. I still, get away from showing that. Even though it's casual, I'd still take out, any piercings that you have, any earring, nose ring, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you want to still go in with a nice pair of slacks or khakis.
Right.
I'd still reserve to keep the jeans back in the closet. Don't go in with, ripped and torn jeans or anything like that. And again, you can go with a more casual shoe, a loafer or a lace up, but I wouldn't do a sneaker. and I wouldn't do a boot or anything casual like that casual.
Yeah, no,
unless you're
go ahead.
Unless you're, applying to work on a ranch or a farm or something like that,
Right.
I leave the boots at home, because I know some guys out there that I've had as clients that were really tied to their boots, and they feel like, just put a little saddle soap on them and they'll be fine. Nah, don't do that.
Not so good. The one key, I picked up on so much about what you just said there. And I think for any applicant out there that's watching this and thinking about applying for a job in kind of that more casual environment, one of the things I picked up on that you said right off the bat is it's actually a little trickier to try and figure out what the style should be for that type of interview versus that formal business environment where you're going suit.
You already know.
Or the casual business environment where you kind of have a formula to work with. And this one, it's a bit more of a mystery, and you've got to really do that research. But again, it's coming down to those fundamentals that you talked about: the slacks, the khakis, the shoes, the nice kind of button shirt. Those are some of the fundamentals that, even though it's more casual, will help you make that awesome first impression.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. You got it.
Great advice. Last one here. So on my list here, and you kind of segued into it with your last comment there, that ranch worker warehouse type position, right? Where, you're in more of a laborer type environment. You really want that job. There's lots of great jobs out there in those environments. Now, what are you showing up in jeans and your boots, like you said, or is it got to be something different?
Yeah. I'd like to call this stage polished workwear.
Yeah, nice. Love it.
So you want to wear the things that you probably would wear working there, because you don't want to intimidate them thinking that you'll show up overdressed.
Right.
You want to make sure that you come in dressed like you're going to come to work, but you want to have a polished, elevated version of that workwear.
Right.
So you don't want to really go all the way overalls. You want to go with a nice pair of jeans.
Got it.
Still, I wouldn't do any holes or anything like that. Mm-hmm. And if you wear a pair of boots, make sure the boots are polished.
Yeah. Yeah.
All the way through to the heel, no scuffed up heels or anything like that. You don't want to show them that you work hard exteriorly yet.
Right.
No soiled, nothing, no stains. You still want to go in a nice shirt, even if it is at this point a nice short sleeve shirt or a polo.
Yeah.
Knit or woven here. I think it's okay to go in a nice 3-button polo, something with a collar. Make sure it has a collar. And you want to make sure that it's pressed.
Right.
Doesn't need to be wrinkled or anything like that. You want to make sure it's nice and pressed, whether it's a knit or it's a woven.
Yes.
Try not to go with any patterns that could be offensive or too flashy.
Right.
Because I find that, guys in this field, when they're hiring, they don't want a lot of flash at all.
Yeah.
They want solid, colors. You can have a pocketed button down woven or anything like that. Pocketed polo, that's fine. But make sure that things are not in the pocket.
Right.
Because I know a lot of people like their favorite pens and things and want to write things down. That's fine. But you want to keep that in your briefcase or whatever, your attaché case, whatever you bring.
Yes.
But also, don't do like me. Still, do not wear hats. Don't wear your cowboy hat in. I live in Texas, so I know how guys love their cowboy hats.
Yeah.
This is not the time.
Right.
Take the hat off. Make sure your hair's cut. Beards are okay, but well groomed.
Yeah.
Make sure that you're ready to look polished in your workwear. So that's my advice there. Just polished, elevated workwear.
Yeah, no, and you know what? It's great advice. And the key word I picked up on what you just said there is polished, right?
Yes.
You're not saying go and buy yourself a 3-piece suit and walk into a ranch, right? For that interview. That's probably not going to land very well with the person who's trying to hire, for that laborer type job. But it's the polish that shows that you've taken the time to have yourself groomed, to look in the way that they're hiring for, with the clean jeans, nice pressed shirt, right? No scuff on the boots. All of that. Those are little things that make a difference that show that you have respect for the position you're applying for the recruitment process that you're going into, and that you want the position. You're trying to make that impression. And as someone who's interviewing, that registers with me, even though I know that at the end of the day, you're going to show up in a pair of jeans, your boots are going to be filthy. You know, the shirt that either is going to be some corporate shirt is going to be, you know, in tatters, or you're just going to wear whatever you have in your closet. It makes that impression to me as the interviewer, like this person has put in some effort, and that that's what sets you apart from other applicants who probably won't do that, won't take the time to do it. Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
That's
on.
Great information. Great advice, Clark.
So Dwayne, okay, so we've just gone through 4 categories here. Say you're, you know, like I was at a good point in my career where I'm like, I'm applying for these jobs. I don't know what the culture is. What should I wear to the interview? What would just be your go-to if you're just confused, you don't know, you've only got certain things in your closet? What would you suggest for those people just to put into, if they're not knowing where they're going, to wear, and it's probably going to land okay, going to make a decent first impression?
A decent first impression, like I say, the go-to middle of the road for everything would be that charcoal suit.
Yeah.
Whether you need the jacket or not, you'll still have the pants.
Yes.
Whether you need the pants and the jacket, you'll have both. And you can pair charcoal with any color under the sun.
Yes.
If you have to wear a shirt and tie, you can't do any wrong. You can't make a mistake with a charcoal suit. If you have a brown shoe, it'll go with all shades of brown shoes. If you have a black shoe, it'll go with black shoe.
Yeah.
You can't really mess up a charcoal suit. So if you had to have just one thing in your closet, I'd say the charcoal suit for interviews, weddings, bar mitzvahs, funerals, you name it. You can have that and then pair it with, different shirts and ties, or just a shirt by itself, air tie, or just wear the pants by itself with the tie. You have so many variations of a charcoal suit.
Right on.
Invest in one good charcoal suit and you should be good for all time.
Yeah, amazing. Now, one of the things that you may have covered this, but I do see it sometimes where, people kind of have the shoe and the belt doesn't match. So what's your advice on the belt? Brown belt, brown shoes, black belt, black shoes, what do you advise there?
I would definitely advise that this belt and the shoes have to match.
Yeah.
Because the belt is much higher than the shoes in your, visibility in your eye, you can play with it a little bit. It doesn't have to be dead on. It could be a shade or two off, as long as it's not too noticeable.
Right on.
If you're anything like me, I don't like to wear ties. I don't like to wear belts.
Right.
To me, they're not as comfortable. I'm not a tall person, so they cut me off halfway. I like to be more linear, and appear taller, so I don't wear, belts. What you can do then is get your pants made with these little adjustable side tabs. If you're doing dress slacks, just do a side tab adjustment and you won't have to wear a belt.
Right.
And just get the belt loops removed.
Right.
And have them fit exact to your waist.
Yes.
And then if you're wearing a sports coat or a suit coat, you can close the first button of the coat and it wouldn't matter if you had a belt on anyway. So if you don't have that perfect matchup, it's okay.
Yeah.
Just follow the 2 pieces of advice that I left you and you should be good to go.
Awesome. Great advice on that. Now, we're talking about fashion here. So, some of us out there watch this and cringing going, I'm picking up on the advice you're giving, but fashion's expensive. There's the Nordstroms, even the Nordstrom racks. Yes, they're discount, but they're expensive. And some of the other, high end, men's clothing stores, it's expensive. So if I'm getting started in my career, maybe I don't have a lot of money or I'm on a budget. What do you recommend for people like that to, with all the advice you've just given and that the amazing tips you've just, given the audience here? What do you advise in terms of getting into some of those styles on a budget?
That's a great question, Clark. It reminds me of a time when I started in fashion at a luxury retailer and these guys were all dressed to the nines every day. And I was coming in to make money. I was broke. So I was like, how in the world can I get there? So what I did was I shopped off season.
Mm.
When the season ended, these retailers have to get rid of all of those clothes.
Yes.
So what you do is you shop off season. You wait until that season ends. You shop the sale racks. They'll have it at clearance, even at the racks in different places like that. They have to get rid of these goods. Yeah. So if you're willing to shop, a season or two behind, which it still makes the styles relevant because we're going for style here. We're not going for, front of the road fashion. So if you were buying those things at clearance price, even if it was last spring, they're still going to be relevant next spring.
For sure.
Because they're basic items. Like this shirt, if you find a nice powder blue shirt, it's going to last you for a while. It doesn't matter if you got it at clearance or not.
Yeah. So shop and a shirt like that is ageless, right? I mean, it's a shirt, powder blue shirts aren't going to go out of fashion, right?
Right.
You're going to be able to use that for years.
Yes. And make sure that they're organic fabrics,
right?
Like cotton and wool. When you start digging into fashion and those polyesters and synthetic fabrics, they're not going to stand the test of time visually and, physically wearing.
Right.
So you want to stay off price, out of season.
Yeah.
And then you want to grab things that are more basic than fashion forward.
Yeah.
And that's going to help you get in the game a lot faster and easier.
Right.
Then you'll have things that you can what we call wagon wheel. You start from the nucleus and you have all these satellite pieces that go back to the nucleus.
Yeah.
So you don't have a huge amount of clothes,
right?
But you have things that'll take you through a work week.
Right. Amazing. Yeah, that's such good advice. One of the things my dad imparted on me was, never pay full price for anything, right? And fashion can be very expensive. So to your tips there, right? You go in off season, you look for the sale discounts, and when you're going into those stores, you go right to the sale rack first and look at, what they've got there. You may find some great stuff, you may not, and then you look for other sale items. But some of those sale racks have some beautiful clothing at deep discounts that you can pick up, for a fraction of what they originally sell for. And, now you're equipping yourself with a wardrobe that you can use for forever.
Exactly. And another thing that I forgot to mention was make sure that you're shopping online. Don't be afraid to shop online because they have a much larger inventory. They're warehousing these things. So they have more size scales, and then they can give you a deeper discount because they don't have the brick and mortar, the sales associates, and all the overhead. So if you know your sizes, you can shop online and get some amazing deals. Oh,
fantastic advice. And yes, I've used that myself. You have so much access to such more variety, and a lot of these stores, they'll have like their sale section on their main website, and then they'll have the off-season page or the rack page that's even bigger discounts on stuff. So online gives you access to so much more. Really, really awesome tip there. So
thanks.
We've been talking about, I guess in the frame of an interview, and I haven't really specified what type of interview you'd be going to. But I think the assumption people may be making is, okay, you're going to an in-person interview. Well, with pandemic and everything else, a lot's changed online, right? And we're doing these Zoom interviews or Teams interviews, whatever you're doing some sort of video interview. Does your fashion change for those video interviews based on what you've all those categories that you've just given advice on? Does your fashion change?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Not at all. I wouldn't change anything that you would do in person virtually. I wouldn't do it because it's more of a mood enhancement for you.
Yes.
So even if, you're like me wearing a shirt and tie and boxers right now.
Yeah.
Not really. But to me, it's more of a mood enhancement. Like Clark specified earlier about the confidence piece. When you're trying to become more confident, you want to put things on that make you feel great.
Yes.
And if that interview uniform is complete, you're going to feel complete and you're going to feel great.
Right.
So I wouldn't change a thing. People are still visually,
yes,
looking at you, and they're choosing you based on your appearance
right.
and how you sound. And of course, your skills and different things that you have in your work experience and background. But still, that entire style, that entire look is going to leave an impression. So I wouldn't change a thing virtually versus, in person.
And you're so spot on with that advice there, Dwayne. It's the confidence that you instill in yourself, right?
Yes.
So yes, we joke, I could be sitting here in my pajama bottoms or no bottoms. Who knows? You don't know. The camera can't see. But
right.
I know that below the camera here, I've got, my belt on, I've got my suit pants on or slacks. I've got socks that match everything, and I've got my shoes that are polished, and that just gives me that extra sense of confidence. I'm not thinking that I'm hiding something on camera. I'm feeling confident in my look and then which helps in your delivery and that impression that you make. It's dress for your video interview, just like as if you were in person. Great advice. Awesome.
Thank you.
So Dwayne, I have taken up so much of your time. I can't begin to express how thankful I am for everything you've given us today.
Oh,
people out there, how do they get a hold of you? They want to work with you. They want to get advice. They want to get that one-on-one style coaching from you. How do they do that? How do they reach out?
Well, they can find me on LinkedIn at Dwayne Williams, Style for Every Man, or you can find me on Instagram, Dwayne.stylecoach. So you can hit me up either place in the DMs, and I'll be glad to respond. We can get things going. I want to know more about you. We can talk and find out specifically what you're after, what you're going for, and we can get you taken care of, worry-free.
Beautiful. Well, Dwayne, that's amazing. Thank you so much for your time today. This advice for all you guys out there, this is the advice you want to listen to prepare for your interview and what you need to wear to make that killer first impression. So Dwayne, thanks so much for everything, and we'll see you again.
My pleasure, Clark. Thank you for having me.
Take care.
All right, take care.